Oh, hey there. You just caught me reading a book. So, you've probably spent a lot of time in the last couple of weeks reading, and while that's great, it's time to work on our next assignment. So, this assignment is making a book, but in this case, an artist mini book. So, there are two important factors to an artist mini book. Number one, it's as much a sculpture as it is a flat work of art. Because while the individual pages will have artwork and maybe some writing, most importantly, it is a sculptural experience. How did you bind or attach the book? And number two, that it still needs to be readable. And what we mean by readable, we mean that it needs to be something that people can visually understand. They can look at it and they can intake each page, and you are somehow telling a story. It could be a design, it could be pictures, it could be a combination of pictures and words. That's completely up to you. It could even be a collection of photographs. But the most important thing is that through the pages of the book, you tell a story. So like most artists in my process making, I actually wanted to make a prototype first. So I took some of my sketchbook paper and I cut out what I imagined to be book pages. I wanted my book to be able to fold, so I'm going to have areas that open and fold. And I also wanted a tab, and the reason why I wanted to put tabs on mine is so that I'd have places to attach more paper or even the cover. I even started using and cutting out the back of a cereal box so that I could use that, since it's sturdier, for my actual book pages cover. So I started using the backside of the back of the cereal box, and I made a prototype for the cover that eventually I think will glue on to my book pages. Now, I'm doing a 3" by 3". You could do any size up to a 4" book. I want to keep mine very small, and I want to make every part of it a surprise so that as it opens and closes, there are new surprises and new things that I've added to it that you will be surprised about as I work. I cut out the pages, or I cut out this prototype. I'm going to fold these pages of this prototype, and then I'm going to attach this book cover, which is nothing more than the back of the cereal box. I folded it in half, and now it's really sturdy, and I could be using that for one of the sides of my cover. So now that I figured out with my prototype for my cover and my pages that this will work, and I'm going to be able to fold and create pop-out versions, I'm going to take it and make the real thing. I'm going to use this as a template to trace other pieces of sketchbook paper together. And I'm going to use this template to make my cover pages. So here is one piece of cardboard glued together back and front. So the inside is the back side, the inside of the Apple Jacks box. And the other page I've already glued on for it to be my back of my book. So I'm actually going to open my book backwards so you can appreciate what you're looking at here. And obviously my pages are blank, but I am telling my story on the idea of how not to touch my face. So over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've really realized how many times I touch my face, and I actually started counting when I do and when I don't. So this random page here is eventually going to get glued on to the back of my cover. But if you open my book, you can see more and more pictures of my face and little tick marks of where I've touched my face in the process of creating this mini book. So as the book unfolds, I'm going to unfold it for you. It sort of unfolds in a really kind of crazy or random way. So not only does it open like an accordion, it also opens downward. So here's one more view of my accordion book, but you remember that it doesn't have to mean accordion. There are lots of styles. I'm going to share with you just a few. So on the Google slide that I shared with you that's attached in part of the HyperDoc, you're going to see other styles. You're going to see an accordion, which is the one I'm using. You could use a unique cover or container. So here someone used a small plastic or glass jar. They actually use the lid on the glass jar as the cover of the book. Here's a fold out, fold up, which is also a part of what I'm using. And then you'll see one really unique where they've actually taken and bound the book with actually sharpened pencils. You could use string, you could use dental floss, be as creative or as original as you like. If you like working with wood and you've got some thin pieces of wood at home, they could be your cover. You make the decision, but you should think about which style you're going to be working with and then begin that as you research and process your design ideas.
So here's the big picture, ladies and gentlemen. You're creating a book that is a sculptural experience. In other words, it's interesting from 360 degrees. Two, it's a book that can be read either through words, text, or it can be read through images or a combination of photographs. You decide, but it must be a book that is small in size, that is visually readable, and it is cohesive in its design. So let's talk about the 5 things in this big picture moment that you're going to be graded on. Number 1, craftsmanship. Your attention to detail, the small little things that others might miss, looking for errors, stray pencil marks, things not folded correctly or that are not cut properly. All of those things show an attention to craftsmanship. Number 2, your use of the media that you chose. If you chose to do photographs, are they beautifully photographed? Are they printed? Are they applied well so that they create a book that folds out to create some kind of visual interest? Or if you've chosen to work with paint, or in my case, I've chose just to work with pen and scrap paper, whatever you choose to use, did you do the best you could possibly to express all the ideas that could come across from that media? Or did you just stick with the most basic, simple response? Think of it this way. If all I chose to use was pencil, as long as I've shown that there are ways that I can use a pencil in different ways. I could hatch, I could cross hatch, I could use the pencil on its side to get more of an awkward scribble. I, of course, can use it in a traditional way to get a super thin, fine line. Could I fatten the line to make it really wide and thick and heavy? Even in the most basic pencil, I can show a really cool and diverse understanding of media that really shows that I know that a pencil just doesn't do one thing. The third one are those elements and principles of design. What and how did you use those elements? Like, how did you express unity in color? How did you try to have texture in the work? Is the work balanced so that it's visually interesting all the way throughout? Does it have a clear sense of texture? Am I using unique things that give that sense of feeling that aren't just flat and dull? The fourth one, is the entire assignment unified in its visual message? Anybody who makes a textbook, a book for reading, any kind of picture book, and even an online website, if you think of it like a book, every graphic designer, every designer is visually trying to make sure that it's all cohesive. The colors, the mood, the textures, the patterns are cohesive, and they're thought of as an entire book or an entire piece of work, not just one individual picture. So cohesiveness in your design is key. And the final one is, how well did you follow all the directions, but at the same time show growth as an artist? Are you really trying to push yourself creative in these highly creative times? Have you tried new things like using the back of a cereal box? Have you used old photographs and maybe cut those up and use them in a collage? Have you tried to use interesting ways to bind the book? You could certainly use dental floss or wire or ribbon. Think of unique ways that you could push yourself to be creative in what I want to call these creative times. So I can't wait to see the results. You, of course, are going to upload them to Schoology, and you want to take 2 photos to best represent what your sculpture and your book is all about. Make sure you upload them to Schoology, and as I said, I can't wait to see what results you bring. I'm looking forward to really seeing the big picture. Bye.